So I think one of the biggest concerns we have with the Articles of Confederation is when we tend to introduce it in a class, students like yourself think you already know all there is to know about it, that the federal government had no power to tax, states negotiated their own foreign trade agreements, there was no national currency. You may have even played various games at lower levels. And so we tend to think the states just weren't getting along with each other. But the Articles of Confederation posed a much greater threat to really not just disunion, but to the ability of the federal government, a United States, to actually exist. You see, what was happening at the time? The French, remember, they were our allies. They were demanding war debts. But there was no ability of the federal government to pay for those debts. You had the British who weren't honoring the treaty. They weren't even leaving. They still were staying in all their forts along the Great Lakes. They were still in Detroit. And they were instigating the Indians to fight the Western settlers. And what was Spain doing? They had totally closed the Mississippi River. It wasn't open for trade, and they were instigating Indians to fight. By the 1780s, you had the entire western frontier and basically an all-out Indian warfare. This country was disraveling. And so when we tend to think that the Articles of Confederation was a loose confederation of states brought to us by people who just fought a rebellion against a tyranny and were afraid of creating a tyranny in this country, we need to appreciate that what they created was the weakest federal government in the history of the world. And so just a few years later, when they got together to revise the Articles and they created the Constitution, we have to appreciate what they actually did was created what has become the strongest federal government in the history of the world. So as you move into the next module, what you really want to focus on is understanding the exact powers that were given to each of the branches of government so that you could see how over time those particular features of our Constitution would lead to the government we currently have. We'll see you soon.